afternoon. Welcome to Flint Talk Radio. I'm Sam Jahari.
Hey, I'm Charlie Buckley. Good afternoon.
And we are Community Parent. We got a lot to go through today. Charlie, I don't know if you heard today. I was listening to one of the CNN or Fox or something, and they were talking about the NFL.
Okay. Class action suit.
Class action suit. McMahon, is it? The quarterback?
Yeah, Jim McMahon's the old quarterback for the Bears.
The
Bears.
Super Bowl Shuffle.
Yeah, the Bears.
Okay, well,
you know who the coach was for them?
Yeah, Ditka.
Ditka.
Yep. Well, anyways, they have a suit going against the NFL. What they were saying is that as people got hurt, they never let them know how bad they were injured, and they just fed them some drugs and sent them back on their way. There was they brought some J.D. Hill. I don't remember him, but he played for the Lions.
Yep.
And J.D. Hill said that he was given so much opiates in his day that after his career ended, he couldn't get any more opiates from the doctors, so he ended up being he's homeless now, and he's an addict.
Yeah.
So. You know, I remember when I think the Super Bowl was going to be played in Detroit. And I remember Billy Sims. Do you remember Billy Sims?
Yes.
Billy Sims was a great running back before we got Barry, of course. But I remember we went 5-0 that year. And I remember Billy Sims getting hurt. And he came off the sidelines. They shot him up with something. He went back out there and he messed up his knee and he was done for the life.
Yeah. You know, Sam, from being around a lot of NFL players at a young age, and then a career in high school and college, and then coaching high school, and kids that are now in college and the pros, you know, coaching for and coaching against, football particularly has such a mindset, and it's changing. But, you know, I've suffered 13 concussions. And there's another lawsuit with the NFL over the concussions, and I'd like to blame a lot of my problems on my concussions, but I probably can't.
Well, you know, the whole thing is playing football. It's I never made it that far, but my sport was playing baseball and stuff. But it's such a buzz in itself. That's a high in itself.
Absolutely.
Playing, being out there and being able to play. You know, and there's not everybody that can do this. You know, sure, you want to play, but I think as far as the owners or the doctors or whatever, if you tell somebody, hey, listen, I can give you something to the pain, or you know, I mean, the severity of what's going on, you should probably sit.
Right.
I think a lot of times, if it comes to your life, you're gonna say, I'm gonna sit. Nothing is worth my life or what's going to happen to me down the road.
Yeah. You know, it's funny. The mindset is, and like I said, it's changing, was I got my bell rung. Well, you got a concussion, but you wouldn't say that. Oh, I got my bell rung. And, you know, there were times where, you know, you would play and you wouldn't really have... You could look in the huddle and look at somebody's eyes and tell they were
out of it.
They were out of it. And then you've got the injuries. And, you know, and there's a couple, and by the way, we do such a better job today as a high school coach. You know, these kids go through cognitive screening before the season. When there's a concussion, they have to be cleared by the medical staff, and they have to go back and retake the same cognitive test that we submitted to them before the season to make sure that they've recovered. And they're not allowed to, they can't even practice, even non-contact drills. So we have come a long way. But, you know, especially in the NFL, these guys, the average career is so short. These guys are making so much money. And if you look at the entire culture, whether it's concussions, whether it's injuries that are musculoskeletal and they're, you know, prescribing opiates, if you look at the performance-enhancing drugs, the steroids, and the negative health impacts, you know, that has, you know, you can go through player after player after player, and see how the steroids, especially more in the past, have forced them to spiral out of control. But This class action lawsuit is going to be interesting. As we talked about last week, I hate class action lawsuits. The only people that make any money are the attorneys.
Sure.
And we won't get back onto the whole tort reform issue because we could spend hours talking about that. But it's raising awareness.
Exactly. I think that's why a lot of people actually come forward. It's not really about the money aspect of it. Most of them, people that played, they're pretty much set for life. But it's bringing it out in the open. I came across this on Facebook. Somebody sent this to me. It's Prescription Drug Abuse Awareness by the Genesee County Pharmacists Association. I would like to share this with you, so I'm going to play this right now and give your input on this.
Oh, is it turned up? Yeah, it's turned up.
As parents, we
I can't.
look at our kids and say,
See, it's like it's turned on. So
Yeah, it's coming on.
okay. I just didn't hear it, so I just thought.
that is not it at all. Our kids give us life every day.
My
Crazy.
family members called me and said,
One person dies every 24 minutes from opiates.
Prescription drugs were the beginning of a much more serious problem. That kids were becoming addicted to Vicodin, oxycodone, hydrocodone, and these are synthetic heroin.
And that, people think prescription drugs are safe because they're given to you by a doctor.
That was always my
and
excuse,
I really didn't
my
understand
rationale.
that these pills were synthetic heroin.
Fairly serious injury. I went to the hospital. That's when my life really started to change. While in the hospital, I got morphine for the pain, Tylenol 3, which has codeine in it, a mild narcotic drug called Oxycontin. Oxycontin's on the top right next to heroin.
I don't know if he really knew what he was taking, and we're left with pictures of him, memories.
I thought, why not try this? It's a prescription pill she got from a doctor.
By the time I was in 8th grade, I was already prescribed Vicodin. By the time I was a sophomore, I was being prescribed morphine. Took pills because it was okay, because it was prescribed from a doctor.
I took Vicodin, is what I was prescribed, and I didn't see really an issue with it. It was prescribed by a doctor. It was something that I considered safe.
This is a problem that starts with adults and it filters down to our kids.
You go to the doctor and you get Vicodin. We all save them for, we might need them later. They're in our medicine cabinets for our kids to start experimenting with.
And on a daily basis, I was seeing young adults under the age of 25 that were coming into my courtroom that were addicted.
The face of addiction, it's changed. Academic honor roll, he was a very smart kid. It is an honor roll student, it's an athlete,
I had all A's.
Had great grades.
All A student, never gave him any problems. He excelled in just about everything, and sports-wise and things like that. And
This is my daughter, Shelby. Does she look like a drug addict? She was addicted to opiates.
It is the good kids. It's the football players and the honor students.
We had a house in the suburbs, the built-in pool.
We have a good family, we talk to our kids, we go to church, we do all the right things.
I had a very good family growing up. I had a loving mother and father.
He came from a Christian loving home. He went to a private school. He was an athlete, basketball team, loved to play ice hockey.
She was always really polite, very respectful, went to church with us. I worked in the legal system and I had no idea.
I was very naive.
We have created a society that drugs for every emotion. Kids don't want to feel, and we've forgotten to teach kids how to cope. And it has led to a very serious problem that is taking young lives away.
Driving him to the hospital, was banging on his chest, and I kept on thinking, I'm gonna lose my boy, I'm gonna lose my boy.
I performed 7.5 minutes of CPR on her until the paramedics came.
I didn't want to live, and I eventually tried overdosing and taking my own life.
when I caught the glimpse of my eyes, the paramedics and somebody beating in my son's chest.
Begging God to just take my life away, because this is too much. This is too much to handle. And
Someone had found him on the floor of a local grocery store.
So difficult that I would go to bed at night and I would pray to God that I wouldn't wake up in the morning. And I'd wake up in the morning and I'd pray for the strength to kill myself that day, every single day.
One person in the United States dies every 24 minutes of an opiate overdose in the United States.
The autopsy results, it said he died from an overdose of oxycodone and alcohol.
He was found in the streets of Detroit. What did they do to my boy? Why couldn't they have dropped him off in front of a store, in front of a hospital, somewhere? But they let him die.
And she just laid there lifeless, purple and white and gray. Her ashes, and this is all we have left of her.
He went to another little room. I knew right then he was gone.
It still hurts. It hurts as bad to the day it happened.
Now she's in jail, and who knows what's going to happen with her.
This is something that is out of control.
It's because everybody believes it won't happen to them, not my child.
If this could happen to us, it could happen to anyone.
We have to wake up.
Wow. This is all our problem. This isn't just people that's going through it. This affects all of us. And the whole thing is we need everybody to come aboard and fight this fight, because together we can make a difference. We can't keep putting our heads in the sand and waiting for somebody else to stand up. We need everybody to stand up with us and fight this fight before it's at your doorstep. Every 24 minutes, that's just the opiates. It's every 19 minutes, drugs and alcohol. Now, they're talking about opiates here, okay? 4 out of 5 heroin users start with prescription drugs. And we think it's okay because we're getting it from a doctor. What happens a lot of times is we get immune to the stuff and we start, either we'll double the dosage, or we'll add alcohol, that's just, it's a Russian roulette. That's what it is. It's playing Russian roulette, and you're taking your life. You know, a lot of these people, that's what they say is they want to die, because it's like you don't see a good ending. Mm-hmm. And you want to put everybody that you love, you know, so they don't have to go through this with you. You look in the mirror and you want to die. That's what it is. Because you become the worst piece of shit that life has to offer. You become these losers or whatever you want to call them. It's not in your hands. This takes over your life and you become a criminal. You sell your ass out in a corner, men and women. You will burglarize the people that you love most of all first, you know, until they turn their backs on you. You will do anything, even as far as murder. And that's what drugs lead to. You know, if you look in our jail system, probably 80% are drug related.
Yes, I mean, $2 billion a year directly from the taxpayer pocket just for marijuana offenses.
Exactly.
And that's, you know, just for that.
And that's basically like, that's basically, if you want to say a drug's harmless, marijuana's essentially...
It's no more harmful than alcohol.
Well, certainly less. I mean, another thing is too, just look at the effects. A person smoking a joint, far less likely, when he's totally buzzed, is going to go cause somebody harm. I've seen how many couple of beers it will do to somebody.
Right.
They want to fight at the drop of a hat, some people.
Well,
never seen that with never saw that with a pot smoker.
John, what happens though, even a pot smoker, if you start, what happens is our brain is developed until the age of 25. So as people, they smoking marijuana or alcohol or whatever at a young age, their brain stops that progression. A lot of times you look at somebody and they're kind of like stupid. It's because their brain quit developing. And that's the whole thing is we've spent so much money since the 70s on this war against drugs, and it's not working. It's not working. We need some different solutions. We're smart enough, we're supposed to be the best country in the world, but we're still just keep adding more life sentences, building more jails and prisons. It's not working. It's not working. We're so educated, and we need to come up with a better solution than what we have. And it doesn't cost us as much to put somebody in jail to get them help and actually get them some kind of treatment. So, I got another thing today from the Waterford, Jeannie Richards, Brian's Hope, that they lost another person in Waterford. These are just people that we hear about, okay? There's a lot of people that are dying in our own neighborhoods that, it's like we know, but we don't. Because when a family is going through this, they're embarrassed. They don't want people to know what's going on in their household. But a loss is a loss. I lost my daughter, and to be honest with you, there's some days it's hard to get out of bed. And if I didn't have my other two boys that need a father and stuff, I probably would stay in bed. But they give me that drive, not only for them, but for all these other families that are struggling with this, that I want to do something. And, we've been in front of over 45,000 kids in 3 years. And I know we've saved a lot of people, but you don't always hear about the ones that you've saved. But the battles that we lose, those come to the surface all the time. And I, for all you in Cyperland, please get on this bandwagon. We need your help. Your children need your help. Your neighbors need your help. We all need to come together as a people, and fight this fight, because we can make a difference.
Sam, watching that video, obviously personally it's got to be difficult for you to watch. It's difficult for me to watch. And, hearing these individuals, hearing the survivors speak, and then the parents, the family members, the thing that still amazes me to this day and teaches me on a daily basis the power of this disease of addiction is I am somebody who loves life. I mean, to the max. I mean, I want to get everything I can out of this life. But I was there.
Sure.
And it's the self-hatred, the self-remorse, the regret, the loathing, the embarrassment, the shame. And then when that's reinforced by people, you feel like a piece of shit. And then you have loved ones telling you, you're a piece of shit. Well, if I think I'm a piece of shit, and I value your opinion, and you think I'm a piece of shit,
then I must be
a piece of shit, And that thought of my prayer life today versus my prayer life a year ago, I was that person praying just not to wake up. For any number of reasons. Put everybody else out of their misery, which is stupid. Mm-hmm. I mean, which wouldn't happen, but you're so sick you think it'll happen. And I just don't want to go through another day feeling like this. And because you're embarrassed and you're ashamed, you don't want to raise the flag and say, I've got a problem. I need help.
Exactly.
And
that's because of the stigma.
Exactly. Right.
The stigma behind addiction, to be honest with you, I was there too. I used to think that same way. And what, when I was going through it with my daughter, I turned to a system that I thought was there to help me. I thought these were the professionals, and I found out that they didn't have a clue, and they probably thought the same way I did, because even as far as doctors, you know, our family doctor, the doctor in the emergency room, you know, looked at my daughter like she's a piece of shit. And you know, to be honest with you, I grew up in the 70s, and I went through, you know, the marijuana, the drinking, the parties and stuff, and you get caught up. But those that aren't in that 10%, we can just say, fuck this, I don't want no part of this, I can walk away. You know, and I thought, well, you know, because I did that, I thought my daughter could do that too. But I've learned about addiction that 10% of us, it's not our choice. I don't think, I know nobody wants to be an addict, because it's a rotten lifestyle. It really is. You are put into the worst scum of the earth, the dealers, the criminals of all sorts. You know, people that they're just driven by money, and they don't care if you die tomorrow or whatever, right, because they know that there's 100 people lining up after you. And as a matter of fact, if you die, it's like their business gets up. You know, all of a sudden it gets better for them, and that's how they look at it. But when I was going through this, I was embarrassed, and as I started talking, you know, I learned that this epidemic is it is an epidemic, and I learned that I couldn't help my daughter, but I'm hoping that I help somebody else down the road, and I know we have because, you know, we've had people that come forward and said thank you for saving their life. So it's a great feeling, but we lose a lot more, you know, in these battles than we save. And hopefully we can turn this around by everybody's help, by everybody coming out and joining our cause, because it is a great cause, and our children are worth it.
They are, and as families we're worth it, as a society we're worth it.
Exactly.
The thing is it is a brain disease, but it's a family disease. And if it's a family disease, it's a societal disease.
Exactly.
Because our societies are nothing more than a group of families, or that's what they should be. And, you know, you talk about the losses. And it's you can't avoid seeing them. You know, I sent you a couple articles this week from the USA Today, and you can't. You know, if you look, and I know that you and I are more sensitive to it, or hypersensitive to it, maybe than some others, because we could read 5 pages of news and it's like you automatically focus in on something, and some other people might not, because they haven't dealt with it yet. But it's the people that come forward, whether it's the kids after one of our presentations or somebody that sends you an email, realizing that we can't save everybody. You and I can't save everybody. 5 of us can't save everybody.
Exactly.
But it's a ripple effect. If the one person and let's even forget the word save, but the one person that we impact, if they carry that message, you know, it's word of mouth advertising. You know, how many people will have a bad meal? If they have a bad meal, they're going to tell 100 people. Exactly. If they have a good meal, they'll tell 2.
Exactly.
So,
well, that's what it. You know, getting back to this video, the one lady that was on there, you know, that spoke about she was into the justice system. She was
a judge.
She's a judge. Yeah. She's a judge in Livingston County, and actually the reason I did an opiate conference where I spoke, and she was the one that was leading the way. So that's the whole thing is, here's somebody that's on the judicial side, and she didn't see it happening in her own family. That's what's going on with this, you know. You know, I have a 13-year-old, and to be honest with you, there's like, as they become teenagers, they don't want nothing to do with their parents, you know, and it's really hard to watch. And you know, the whole thing is, my kid, he's a great kid, you know, but he's playing Xbox, and he's just screaming at this Xbox game. So, you know, I told him, I said, stop. He didn't. So I go and I turn it off. You know? So the next day he goes to school and he's all pissed off. I said, that's okay. So he comes home later, you know, and he's playing Xbox and the same thing's going on. So, you know, I go up and I turn it off. So he's like, what's going on? I didn't do anything. I said, do you yell? You know, I know he plays sports and stuff. I said, now you play sports. Do you act like that? Because he's playing hockey or something, and that's why he's yelling. I said, Dad. He said, Dad, I'm yelling at the TV, you know? I says, no. I said, you're yelling at the TV, but what happens is it becomes habit. Right. You know, you're going to be out on the field. You know, you're not going to be happy with the referee's call, and you're going to blurt it out because you've gotten into this thing. And I see like you're angry. You know, yeah. What is going on with you? You know, that the whole thing is at first it's like he don't want to talk to me about it, but when I took something away from him, I forced him to come because he wants to play his game. Now he come over and he's talking. I said, listen, you know, they play these games now and they're talking on, or they have FaceTime or whatever. Yeah. You know, so they're talking with their friends or whatever, right? And I said to him, I says, now does your friends, do they act like this? Oh yeah, they act like this. I said, well, I'll tell you what. I don't care about how they act. I care about how you act. Right. And if these are the kind of friends that you're hanging around with, I don't want you hanging with them. You know, we can't just put things off because it's going to take care of itself. These are children that we're bringing into this world, and the world is very ugly. You know, and that's why I told my wife, I said, I can't handle this anymore. I gotta reach them somehow, you know. And at the end, he put his head down, you know. And I told him, I said, son, I don't ask much of you. I buy you the Xbox, I buy you whatever, because there's nothing that you want. If I can afford it, I'm gonna go get it for you. Is there anything that you're going without? He said, no. I said, what do I ask of you? To be a good person. I said, okay. You know, he put his head down, he started crying, he says, I'm sorry, Dad. But if I would have just let it go, what's going to happen is that anger is just going to keep building up and building up and building up, and he's getting further and further away from me. You know, it's bad enough just watching them getting older, and they don't want nothing to do with you anyway, but we have to take, you know, I lost my child, and, you know, there was times maybe I didn't step in, but not again. I can't afford to lose any more children, you know. And I think it's little things, you know, like that judge. She says, we as a people or children, we don't want to feel. We need to cope. We need to feel.
They don't know how to cope. We don't know how to cope.
Exactly.
And children, you know, whether they're yours, mine, or ours, they're children. Exactly. And it goes back to what we've said many times about the village, the community to raise a child. I had a conversation with my ex-wife yesterday, and it was a pleasant one.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, that's always nice. It starts there. Yeah, and her comment to me was, I must be doing something right. Both the kids told me off today. And I laughed, and I started thinking about it, and I asked her what was going on. And I thought about the fact that, you know, my relationship with my kids is the best it's ever been. But with that also comes the fact that they're pissed off at me a lot more now too, because I'm parenting. Mm-hmm. Because when I was, you know, on my slide down and skirting along the bottom, they kind of had free reign to do whatever they wanted to do.
You had your own issues going on.
Yeah, you know, and that's the part that I love about community parent is it's the parenting part. I sent you this article about the young lady that the morning after the prom down in Houston.
Yeah.
They woke up and she was dead.
Yeah.
And they found alcohol and painkillers.
Sure.
And you know, there's two sides to every story, and the truth lies somewhere in the middle.
Sure.
But the mother of the deceased said that, you know, she was apparently on the surface doing all the right things, knew where the girl was, who she was with, had a curfew for her to be home. The boyfriend's mother called her and said, can she stay the night at our house? She said, no, I want her home. She never showed up at home. She got a call in the morning. Her daughter had passed away. The boyfriend's mother, according to reports, rented them a hotel room.
Wow.
And again, now, where's the parenting?
Exactly.
You know, it's you can't protect them all the time, and you have to let them fall. However, to provide them the opportunity, then you've got nobody to blame but yourself.
Exactly.
You know, and that's the part where, and I was as guilty of this as anybody. Parent first, friend second.
Exactly.
You know, I don't need you to be my friend.
Yep.
You know, you could be my friend in 20 years, but right now, damn it.
Exactly.
These are the rules.
You know, that's the whole thing is we talked about this village and stuff like that. It's not happening anymore.
No.
So we need to be a lot more proactive and take charge. You know, this parent to get her son a hotel room, then, you know, to call the other lady and say, oh, she spent the night, you know, and ends up being nothing of the sort. But these are the kind of things that's happening. You know, going to school, when I was 12 and 13-year-old, the number one thing was, oh, let's get some alcohol.
Sure.
You know, the number one thing right now for 12 and 13-year-olds is opiates. It's the pain pills. Okay, that's the number one high. Okay, and for 10% of us, okay, that first step, that's playing Russian roulette. Okay, but this affects everybody. Okay, it's not just the 10%, and it's not just the families that's going through this. It affects all of us. That's why it takes all of us. You know, we need to be a vigilant. You know, to fight this crazy epidemic, and we need to get rid of the stigma. You know, that of addicts, they are losers. Okay. These are the cream of the crop that it's happening to. These are people that are going somewhere in their life that get hurt or whatever. And opiates, you know, it gets them addicted. And we are losing great kids, okay? When we started Community Parent, it was about we wanted to stop the nosebleed. We wanted to go to kids, you know, so they have an option to say no and the reasons why they say no. And to be honest with you, I think a lot of these kids, they think that the same way that I used to think, that people that are doing drugs, they're just losers, okay? They don't understand. I mean, well, they do after we talk to them, you know, they get the thing that it's not a choice. That addicts, it's a brain disease, it's a sickness, and we need some compassion, really, especially from our system.
Well, the other thing is, you use the word drugs or drug addicts, and our kids are a lot smarter than we tend to give them credit for. They don't, as a whole, view alcohol or nicotine or even marijuana now as a drug. Those are
even prescription drugs.
Well,
that's from a doctor.
That's what I'm saying. Even though they're prescription drugs, it's right in the name.
Yeah.
But because it's not somebody in a back room or back alley selling something illegally, they think that it's okay. And yesterday there was another article about senior citizens and prescription. Prescription drugs. Yeah. And it's the largest segment as far as rising in addiction. And it was funny or ironic as I read this, what's being prescribed to the older patients were the two biggest drug classes are opiates and benzodiazepines, two of my favorites, and that's what I was on, prescribed for. And then as you said earlier, as your body gets used to it and your equilibrium adjusts, well, the same dose isn't working, so you take more, and then the same dose isn't working, so you add alcohol, and that's a deadly combination.
Exactly.
I mean, it's an absolute deadly combination. But these kids know that even if my mom and dad don't have something, grandma does, or aunt so-and-so, or uncle so-and-so, and they go in the bathroom, you look in the medicine cabinet, oh, they're not going to miss two. And that's the part where, as parents, and on the education side, hopefully we'll get to do this summer, is talk to the parents and say, listen, if you are prescribed those drugs, lock them up.
Exactly.
Treat them like a handgun, because they are just as dangerous
Exactly.
as a handgun.
When I first started over at Mott, it was like 81, 82, right out of high school. Everybody I was meeting was from the suburbs in Mott and community college, and they're all taking Valium. And I was kind of like mocking them, and they said, "Well, it's prescribed by a doctor." Well, see, being around hardcore drug users all my life, I just saw that basically they were getting this dependency on it, and I said, just because a doctor prescribes it doesn't mean it's safe.
Right.
And they said, but there's a need for it. It's a legitimate need. I went, yeah, because you said you have anxiety or something like that, so they give you Valium. I mean, yeah, that's all the doctor's going to ask you. And they were shocked, and they act like I was like looking down on them when I started questioning their use of Valium. And they were popping them back then. They were popping them like you would aspirin, or whatever. I mean, like chocolates or something. I mean, they just thought that this was like this cure-all thing. I mean, and I saw somebody, and I tried to warn them. They thought I was such a bastard for warning them with the thing that they were actually getting this benefit from could be dangerous. They resented me for saying it to them.
Oh, when they transitioned me off of the OxyContin, I had gone to and taken the Suboxone, and that worked. And I had gone. They said, "Well, you had an issue with the dependence on the OxyContin, so we're going to give you Percocet." Well, I was eating those like M&Ms. I mean, it was because it took more to get the same palliative effect. But it's like, even Dr. X, you don't get it.
Exactly.
You're not seeing the big issue here. But you're so sick. I was so sick. It's like, well, the doctor's giving them to me. It's okay.
Well, you know what? There's a lot of college students right now. I mean, they're overdosing on Adderall. Something that's they take because it helps me study. It's gives me more focus and stuff. The whole thing is too. I mean, we have tragedies or we have things that go on in our life. Okay, so then the doctor, here, have some Xanax, have a Valium. Okay, and for 10% of us, that's it. No, that's the start of it, and that's the end of it. We are hooked. We are made that we are not to feel. The whole thing is, out of all the medicine, all the prescriptions that's made in the United States, we are only 5% of the people, of the world, but we absorb 80% of the prescriptions. 80%. And the whole thing is, we think we need a pill for anything. We need a pill to go to sleep. We need a pill to wake up. We need a pill to study. We need a pill for this. We need a pill to scratch our ass.
I was going to say, you got to bring in your scratch your ass pill. That's my favorite one that you talk about.
This is the world we're living in.
You're right.
You're right. It's okay to feel. After Brianna, I studied. I mean, I was having a lot of problems with depression. And, 2 months into it, I finally went to a therapist, and I really enjoyed the therapy. I mean, my therapist was awesome. But she thought, you need to sleep. You're not sleeping. So you need to see the psychiatrist or the guy that writes the pills. Within 5 months or 4 months, I'm on 5 different prescriptions. One to go to sleep, one to wake up, I'm groggy, one to give me a little lift, so this is where I was at. And I come back and I see this doctor, and the doctor says to me, he says, well, how's this working out for you? I said, I'm depressed. I'm still not sleeping. I'm still groggy. I'm still this. I'm still that. Well, maybe we need to up this, so we need to give you this, something different. And I finally, it's like I woke up it's like I'm still depressed, but my brain says, what the hell are you doing? And I looked at that doctor, I said, you know what, doc? I says, I don't think there's anything you're going to give me that's going to make me feel any different. I lost my child. Maybe I'm supposed to feel depressed. Maybe I'm just supposed to go through this, And to be honest with you, God said, when it gets too heavy for you to bear, put it in my hands. And I, at that moment, that's what happened. Is I told that doctor, I says, I'm done with this crap. He says to me, why did you come to see me? I said, I don't know why I came to see you, but I know I'm not coming back. And that's when I surrendered. I gave it to God, and I says, God, get me through this. And I love that poster where, why when I needed you most, you left me. And he says, that's when I carried you.
Right.
And we have to, I don't preach. My personal relationship with God is my own personal relationship. I don't push that on anybody. I'm not here to preach to you or whatever. But we need something, okay, to believe in and to hold on to, because life is crap. It's crazy out there. It's very, very crazy, okay? And this world just isn't getting any nicer. And we have to surrender. We have to believe in Him to make, for us to get through from day to day things.
Well, and I think that's the hardest part with, and I unfortunately I missed Beecher, but with the inner city schools that we speak to, Northwestern, Southwestern, it is so difficult for us to put ourselves in the shoes of those students. Flint, Michigan. All right, there's not a lot of positive things being written about Flint in the last 20 years. Okay, murder capital, crime capital, crack house capital. You hear all the different statistics. Exactly. You drive down streets and there's homes that are burnt down, falling down. The night before Halloween, we have to bring in we have to call firefighters in from 3 or 4 counties to try to keep people from torching houses.
Well, that's diminishing because the targets are diminishing. It's rapidly diminished. It's not. I think they found out a lot of those were being set by people. A lot of them were laid off firefighters. They suspect might have been causing those fires. Yeah. So but it's. I don't know. I gotta take a sense of pride as a tough town. Though. It's like kind of that's the only thing you got to cling to.
That is.
Yeah. See, that's the whole thing. Is there's so much corruption, and the people that we believe in or we put our faith in, the mighty dollar is leading them, and not so much the people that put them in office or what they're there for.
I think. With Flint area, I cover this stuff, and it probably is not. I can't do the interviews with the politicians. Because I just say, so what line do you want us to believe, you bastard? That's my view towards it.
Well, what about our councilman? 4 flat tires, going the wrong way, broke down on the road, and he tried to defend himself in court.
Somebody give him a...
Somebody slipped him a roofie.
Yeah.
And another thing is I'm saying, I'm looking at this and I'm seeing it, I'm detached. Basically, when you see so much crap happen, you no longer want to feel anything, so you kind of go into this isolated mode. And I'm looking at if I was an outsider looking to relocate a business, and I want to help a business, I want to help an area that basically is going to be hungry enough to actually want to extend some kind of help to me, so we could have scratch your back scenario going on. I would not go to Flint. You got your officials being paid for doing nothing because you got an emergency manager. They're getting reduced salary, but these people are still in place. Then you got a bozo. To me, it's like, is this a show? Is this a show? They're trying to show.
Is this a reality show?
Is this a reality show? I think
we're getting punked.
Or sitcom. Is it a sitcom? Is it this pathetic, or are you guys actually going out of your way to create the worst case scenario and to put that to the world? It's sickening. Yeah. But it's also comical. I got to take the comical side because I live in it.
You have to find some humor in everything. And John, like you, for years, one of the things, kind of like a badge of honor that I wore was I bought this T-shirt from Flint City T-shirts down on Saginaw Street. Give them a little plug. And it was Flint, toughest town in the country, or toughest town on earth, or something it said. And it was like, you know what? That's kind of what we've got to hang our hat on for a while.
I had friends tell me when they mentioned they're at a party down someplace like Chicago, and they mentioned they're from Flint. They had Chicagoans give them space. It's like, oh man, it's like let's face it, Chicago's a rough town now. A lot of murders and stuff going on, but we're concentrated. If you know how to be not a good target here and avoid getting caught here, look how much you can do in a bigger city like Chicago. Yeah. You know how to escape.
Yep.
No. When Community Parent was formed, they came out and they did articles on us, and I remember some of the feedback on M Live. It's 2 girls from the burbs, died. All of a sudden, we got all these people coming forward. It wouldn't happen if this was Flint. I met with the chief. Well, I didn't meet with him. I was talking with the chief operating officer of community parent yesterday. He says, Sam, I want to congratulate you on a great year. You guys were very successful. We got into Flint schools and stuff. He said, I was talking with the principal of Bendel, and he says, these people, they don't really have money over there and stuff, but you guys came and they feel like they're not left out. Mm-hmm. They feel like, you guys came for them. You cared enough for them to come out and speak, which a lot of the schools that we go to, that can't afford to pay for our DJ or for our expenses, we give it to them for free. Bendel was one of those. The Flint schools were those that weren't charged. And I think that was the whole thing, is they kind of threw it in our face and they laughed at us. But when we said, we're here because we care about you, and the whole thing is, I don't care about what I say. See what I do. And that's what it was. They seen our actions spoke louder than the words. So they couldn't really say, well, you don't care because you're here, And we care about everybody. It doesn't matter where you live. This is happening everywhere. And drugs is not the answer. And we need to love one another. We need to love our neighbors. And go back to being a village. And that's the only way it can happen. That's the only way things can change and get better. And that's why we need everybody to come aboard community parent.
Well, it was interesting, Sam. I went in last Friday night. I went into the Jackson prison. I was invited in to attend a meeting, and the individual that invited me in, he said, Charlie, one thing to keep in mind is, when you're sitting around the table and you're talking to these guys and you guys are sharing, he said that we don't get a lot of outsiders, and you have to be able to try to provide them with some hope, and they're in a hopeless situation.
Exactly.
And that was a little bit daunting. And I started thinking about Alvon when Alvon talks about when he goes into the jail, and he goes into the jail all the time. For most of us, we're not used to going into a jail or a prison,
right.
And walking into that prison, whew,
I'm sure.
That it was scary.
Sure.
Because to me, it'd be like old home week, because I got so many friends. I'm serious. I've always speculated. People say, why don't you go, when you get a job, why don't you work in, corrections? I went, no, because I know too many people are in the joint, man. Yeah. Because growing up here, a lot of people went to prison.
Well, that was the interesting thing, John. When you're sitting down talking to these guys, the ages is from 18 to 70, and they are literally kids that I've coached against, parents, uncles, aunts. There's no difference, and so many of them are there, and it started with drugs or alcohol, which either that's why they're there, or that led to a rape or a murder or a carjacking or a home invasion, what have you.
It's incremental. It's basically, you find yourself making deals with the devil when you're doing certain things, like you're buying illegal drugs on the street. If you're not, even if it's prescription drugs and they just cut you off, you're going to go, it's accumulative. It's it's incremental. You find yourself now plunging down this abyss.
Yeah. I have a friend in Connecticut who's a nurse for the state of Connecticut Department of Corrections, and he does the health evaluations for the incoming prisoners. And he says all the time where somebody sits down at the desk and says, "Hey, Mike," and it's somebody that he went to high school with, and he's just like, we used to do the same things, and now I'm here and you're there.
I wanted to share a quote. It says, "Our lives begin to end the day we become silent about things that matter." Martin Luther King Jr. This thing matters. All right? Yeah. And that's the only way that we can actually do something about it is it's got to matter to everybody. Okay? If it's not your kid, it's your nephew, your niece. It's somebody in your family. It's somebody that you know. And it takes all of us to really make a change. I can't specify enough, how much we need everybody's help, okay, to really make a difference. Our Senate here in Michigan, they're trying to pass this bill that, like ambulances and police, can carry this.
Is that for the Narcan or?
Narcan, right? And everybody agrees that we need to have this, and the reason they're trying to send it through, this bill is so that there's no one can sue you or whatever. Okay. And they kicked it out because the wording, they didn't like the wording or whatever. Everybody, only one person voted for it and everybody else abstained. So the whole thing is we need to get, with our legislators and really see the things that's going through and help get it passed, and be more vocal. Be more vocal, all right? And the whole thing is, I don't care if you're a Democrat or Republican, hold these people accountable, okay? They're there to work for us, for the people. And I don't see that so much, but all we can do as a people is, our voice is by voting. Then hold them accountable to do the right things. Not just worry about who's putting money in their pocketbook. It just seems like we vote these people in offices, then it's like big businesses send money their way and they get to get whatever they want done because they're giving them money. That's bullshit. That's bullshit. And the whole thing is, we've been quiet way too long, people. Wake up, America. We can make a difference, all right? But we have to wake up. Quit, get your head out of the sand and say this isn't happening because it's happening, all right? And it takes the voice. The louder we are, the more things can get done. And I've had enough. I've had enough. To be honest with you, it took me to lose a child to open my eyes to what's going on day in, day out. Let's hold these people accountable. All right. If they're not doing what we need them to do, maybe we need to start impeaching people and knocking them out.
We should take the kid gloves off. We've always said when you talk to the senator or you talk to the congressman, be polite. Why the hell should we be polite? Exactly. If you and I were hired for a job and we were failing at that job miserably, we'd expect our bosses to come and say, "You're screwing up. You're out of here."
Exactly.
But I'll come. No, because we got to tremble. It's almost a form of idolatry. We put these guys in suits and then we're supposed to pay homage to them. No, we respect the office when they're doing the job the office requires. But just to respect this cult of personality develops. That's ridiculous. It's insanity, and it's shivering and sitting there and biting your nails when you go to these people. Gets you nowhere. They got to start realizing who the hell is the boss, and we've let them get away for so long not knowing that. Because let's face it, we just keep on voting. When Don Regal is the senator from this area, he voted 78% of the time against the constituents' expressed wishes, and he kept on getting reelected because he had the big D after his damn name. Yep. And it's a cult.
Exactly.
Start looking at what they're voting on and how it affects you. Well, how it's going to impact you. Okay, sorry about the editorial.
The whole thing is, as a people, we don't want no confrontation. But these people, they represent us. And they can only do what we want them to do.
They're supposed to represent.
Exactly. They work for the people that put them in office. Whether you vote for them or not, they're supposed to still represent you. And the whole thing is, growing up, what was it, that song? I fight authority, authority always wins. Mm-hmm. Okay? That's because not everybody.
The authority song, John Mellencamp.
John Mellencamp, exactly. Okay? The Tea Party, they start speaking out, so all of a sudden the IRS is after them. That's the whole thing. But the whole thing is we just can't be quiet. We can't be quiet anymore. The louder we are, the more that things are going to get done. The injustices of the world don't go away by staying quiet.
I never realized until I moved here. I remember the first election year that I lived in Michigan. I was talking to somebody in the office, and they said, "Oh, my husband, so-and-so, he's off today." Well, why is he off? Well, it's election day. It's written into their union contract that they get election day off. Okay.
No, like 8 to 8?
But they got the day off, and they got transportation from the union hall or from the shop. They got bussed over to vote. Well, come on.
And they were told how to vote.
Oh, of course. But yeah, I just thought that was absurd.
That's part of your union dues.
I thought that was absurd. And then you realize that it's just woven into the fabric. And then I remember a couple years go by, and then I read in the paper about the job bank. I never knew what a job bank was. And then I read what these people were receiving at the job bank, and I'm going, what is, the system is so screwed up. The system, every piece of it.
Exactly that.
So
the whole thing is
to us.
When they take your voice away, okay, you become nothing. Okay, that's the whole thing. Speak up. I don't care how you vote. Hold them accountable.
Yeah.
Hold them accountable. They represent us. And when we just take it and don't say nothing, this is what we're gonna get.
And look at when John McCain and Feingold first wrote that bill that actually they had it written so for campaign finance reform. This is like years ago because Feingold I think is gone or whatever. But anyway, it basically said that they wanted it could be worded. You could be construed as you'd have to register as a lobbyist before you can actually write your senator or congressman. And then some people say, well, what's wrong with that? I mean, you are lobbying. I went, it's right to redress. It's right in the Constitution, assholes. I mean, if you think that we're supposed to just get these people carte blanche approval for everything they're doing, you're an idiot.
Exactly.
And it's like, yeah, but it's people have been dumbed down. That's where the educational system, they've always tried to make it's like questioning these people, like it's like you're being racist or xenophobic or whatever if you question your legislators. And these people are,
that's all right.
That's our right to do that. I mean, they work for us. Even if you didn't vote for them, they still have to answer for your hire.
Exactly.
And let's face it, most of these assholes that are in power around here, I didn't vote for because they got a D after their name.
Well, and then you look at, it's kind of woven into everything else that's been spoken about today, but the whole idea of business ethics. I know recently in Fenton, I believe it was, there was still a little remnant of a blue law left about selling alcohol on Sunday mornings.
Yeah, right.
And I think it was Kroger had gone, my facts could be a little bit off, but they'd gone to the city council and said they're losing X number of dollars per year because of those. They couldn't sell until noon versus 7 a.m. or whatever. And, growing up, grocery stores used to be closed on Sundays.
Exactly.
And now there's only two, I know it's Chick-fil-A, they're closed on Sundays. And the McCoy's Hardware chain, which is Texas, Oklahoma.
Hobby Lobby too, I think is closed up on Sundays.
Are they?
Yep. And all these, I think, it used to be closed on Sunday. I don't think it's changed that because of the religious differences.
Yeah. And it doesn't. I just think that it's time that as individuals and as corporations we stand up for a sense of values. McCoy's Hardware, small family-owned hardware chain, and they're saying, we are willing to give up 12.5% of our potential revenue. Take a day of the week out every year. To stand up and say this is important.
There's more important things like family, like values, than money. That's the root of all evil. What are we going to lose for 4 or 5 hours if we don't sell? I lived in Cleveland for a while, and they used to have this 3.2. A 3.2 beer for Sundays, it's like less alcohol or whatever.
So you would just buy more.
Oh my gosh, it's just crazy. Well, that's what I find, that it's like, why everything is driven by money.
Yeah.
And the whole thing is these people that we put in office, it's the ones that are throwing money at them. That's who they're working for.
Great example. Insurance companies have a very good friend who needed to buy another ticket back to Brighton this past weekend. Brighton was willing to accept this person. Obviously, Brighton does a great job. Mm-hmm. The insurance company said, "When was the last time you had a drink?" They said, "Wednesday. This is Saturday." Well, then you're not in duress unless you are actively drinking. So what's the person have to do?
They have to be out drunk.
They went out and they tied one on.
Yeah.
And the insurance company, boom, there you go, you're in.
That's crazy.
That is nuts.
It is nuts. Well, everything is just driven by money, and it's too bad. It really is. But this is the world we live in. We are Community Parent. We love talking to you guys. We're here every Wednesday from 1:30 to 2:30. We need you to come aboard. We need your help. We need your voice. Okay? I'm Sam Jahari. This is Charlie Buckley, Community Parent. Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks, guys.